Hello, everybody. Jax West from Justice with Jax, Stephen Avery Project, and MAM Gossip. Maybe I should move this closer so, since I'm not using an actual microphone or anything, excuse me, it might be harder for you guys to hear me as I'm not up in my office, so I'm not using my regular computer. Once again, I'm using my iPad. And I'm down here where my dogs are, who typically bark at every little thing. So you're probably going to hear my dogs barking at some point. Yet, such is life. So, Christopher wanted us to cover Kuss Road today in the Stephen Avery case. Let me first go through our most asked questions before we get into any discussion. Where is Stephen's case now? Same place it's been for over a year, right? That we're waiting for the judge to respond to Kathleen Zellner's briefs. And there is no time limit. So it's just a whole bunch of waiting. While we're waiting for the response, Kathleen's team is still looking at new evidence, testing things. So, there's stuff that's happening behind the scenes. There's just nothing of note to talk about. So, it's just more waiting. How are Stephen's parents? Stephen's mother has dementia and do not know the extent of it, that she is in a home to take care of her, and that his dad's health, they get older every day, so every day that goes by that Stephen has not been freed is another day that their health deteriorates, and that could miss the opportunity of getting the happy reunion that there should be. So, and then another question we're asked all the time is, who am I? So, in hello to new people. We do get new people here in MAM Gossip all the time, and they want to know who I am and if I am related to the family. I am no relation to the family. I am just somebody like all the rest of you that watched Making a Murderer and was upset by this obvious injustice to Stephen and Brendan and got interested in the case, and it kind of snowballs, and here we are with Stephen Avery Project and this subgroup that we have that's called MAM Gossip. MAM Gossip is where we go more in depth into the case. Stephen Avery Project is where it's just the facts, ma'am. Because this case has so much drama around it by this family, and a lot of people don't understand or care to the drama that goes with the case. So we save all that for in here for Stephen Avery, from Stephen Avery Project into here, into MAM Gossip. So Christopher says, and sorry, I have, I'm just constantly busy with stuff in my own life, so that I'm not in this group very often. It's Christopher who is mainly like approving the new members and, watching your posts and moderating everything. So Christopher says that he has had discussions in the group on what on the case would they like to talk about. And so he said the thing right now is Kuss Road. Now, I am not the all-knowing authority on the case. I say all the time that I have forgotten so much that I knew once upon a time, because I've been I've only been involved in this case since Making a Murderer came out. But once Making a Murderer did come out, you know, I fell down all the rabbit holes and read everything and all that. And so once upon a time, I knew this stuff all backwards and forwards, but not any longer. So I am not all-knowing on Kuss Road. Now, I have been there on several occasions. I typically go once or twice a year that we go up to Manitowoc and we film videos there. You know, we call them field trips. So if you go into the videos here in the MAM Gossip group, you can find the videos that I have done from Manitowoc, so you can see for yourself. So we have been, I would think, almost everywhere you can think of that's related to this case. And if we have missed something that people think is a place we should go, let me know for the next trip on where we should target. So Kuss Road is a dead-end street that is behind Avery Salvage. And people don't realize just how close that really is to the salvage yard. You know, for you to drive the roads that surround the land, you know, you're going around it. But if you're able to go as the crow flies and, you know, just go across the deer camp and the quarry, and then the pit, as they call where all the cars are parked at the salvage yard, and then you come to the residences, you know. So it's totally doable that somebody could drive to Kuss Road. Oh, Debbie, you're the first comment I've seen. And now here's Bryce. Hey, girl, hey. So maybe you're not, because I was thinking the same thing, that I couldn't see comments, but now all of a sudden I am. So, Debbie, are you seeing them now? Because all of a sudden I just got comments from Kat and Bryce and Debbie and Melissa. So, thank you for the ones that have commented, because I'm like, all right, am I talking to myself? Is there anybody really watching? I know sometimes Facebook is stupid. But, so, it's totally believable that somebody could drive to Kuss Road and then run back to the salvage yard, to the residences, go get another vehicle and drive back, or get whatever. It's that close. And in the past videos, hello John, in the past videos I've done, we have timed how long it takes to get from the salvage yard to Kuss Road. And Kathleen Zellner has done that as well. You can find that video, I believe it's on her website, and you can also find it on YouTube, where she did a recreation of a way that, a theory of what could have happened to Teresa, with Bobby Dassey leaving his trailer and following Teresa Halbach, getting her to pull over onto Kuss Road. And it's not a long live, Carolyn. You know, it's as long as there's people who have something to discuss on Kuss Road or any other questions. So typically probably an hour if there's enough interest. But so you can find Kathleen's recreation as well, where they're constantly timing it too. But it is totally doable for Bobby Dassey to have tricked Teresa Halbach to pull off onto the dead end under the premise that he wants a hustle shot, that when Teresa gets a scheduled appointment through Auto Trader, she's paid $10 a picture. hustle shot, she makes 20. So hustle shots are great. You know, she wants those. So did Bobby Dassey get her to pull over a Kuss road? And something happened there. Now, in Kathleen Zellner's recreation, she has it where Teresa is hit over the head, and then she is put into the back of her RAV4 with the help of Scott Taddock. Now, there's also the discussion that Teresa allegedly was temporarily buried on the access road to the deer camp that comes right off of Kuss Road. And when the cadaver dogs were brought out in searching for Teresa, they did go to the deer camp. So was Teresa Halbach temporarily buried at Kuss Road? Don't know. Though the one thing that I say on this case is there is no evidence on what happened to Teresa Halbach. All we know is she has not been seen by family or friends, at least that admit it, since around Halloween of 2005. Is that the year? I'm bad with numbers. I do not believe there has ever been any concrete evidence that the alleged bones that were found at the salvage yard are Teresa Halbach's. So, thank you, Kat. 2005. So, I am not going to theorize what Bobby Dassey did to Teresa Halbach. But if something bad happened to her, who is the one responsible? In my view, the evidence points to Bobby Dassey. Did he rape her? Don't know. Did he shoot her? Don't know. Stab her? Don't know. Don't know any of that. Right, Kat? Cuban? Don't know. But Kuss Road is so important in all of this because of, like I said, the dogs went there. And then you've got the whole, you ever see the movie Throw Mama from the Train? And when he talks about crisscross, you know, where these two men both have people that they want to kill, and so you always look to somebody close to the victim as being the killer, so they're going to kill each other's person for them, and you know there'd be no reason for them to do it, so they'd get away with it. That's what I always think about in Bobby and Scott Taddock's, oh, we just happened to be passing each other on 47, and I just happened to look at my radio, so I know the exact time was 2 o'clock or whatever the frick it was. So I always think of that as crisscross, you know, not that it's the same thing, but that's what comes into my head. You know, so that's all very suspicious to me, with that Scott is claiming he's driving one way and Bobby's driving the other way, and they're both going to go hunting. They're not hunting together, but Bobby's going to go hunting at Scott's trailer. Scott is not hunting at his own trailer and is going somewhere else. It's just all kinds of weird. And we know from Stephen's testimony that he had gone into his trailer, you know, so Teresa came, she took pictures for just a couple minutes, nothing. She hands him the book that so the magazine that Stephen always calls the book, hands him the book, and she leaves. And he goes inside to set down the book, And then when he comes outside, he's able to see Teresa Halbach because, you know, the Avery Road is a very long road getting to 147, and then you can see 147. There's, you know, this big, huge field that's in front of the salvage yard, you know, and this is October, and so, you know, you don't have vegetation that's really tall or anything at that time, that he can clearly see the road that's in front of them as well, and he is seeing Teresa Halbach's vehicle that's leaving. And then he went to go talk to Bobby, and Bobby's truck was gone. But Bobby's truck was there when Teresa was there. So in the however long it took Stephen that he was in his trailer, by the time he gets back outside, Teresa is still driving away and Bobby is gone. He didn't see Bobby's car driving away, but also from, you know, the salvage yard, the road goes, Avery Road goes this way, then it goes this way, and then 47 is this way. So Bobby could have been at this corner down here while she's down here. So it's completely believable that he could see Teresa Halbach driving and doesn't see Bobby. And with Bobby leaving that close in time to Teresa, but Bobby's testimony is that he took a quick shower, and by the time he came out, her car was gone and he didn't see Stephen. Something's not right there. And who has been shown time and time again to not be telling the truth? The story changes. Stephen's story remains consistent. Bobby Dassey is the one that keeps changing. It's hard to remember a lie because it didn't happen. It's easy to remember the truth because it did. So, Kuss Road is what people believe is where Bobby Dassey took Teresa Halbach. And it's this little dead end, and then there's it's not even a road, it's, you know, a path that goes to the deer camp from there. And there's only a couple houses down that road, and if you go into the old videos, I have filmed that entire street, and we've also counted how many houses are on that street. There's 8 houses? So, you know, not a whole lot going on in that area. So when you're thinking this was a Monday, correct? Monday, it's Halloween, it's the middle of the afternoon, a work day, school day, you know. So did he get her at Kuss Road, temporarily bury her until dark, and go back? Is there no temporary burial, that he got her at Kuss Road, took her into those woods, did something to her in the woods, and then brought her home? See, I believe something happened to Teresa Halbach in the Dassey garage. Not Stephen's garage, the Dassey garage. Because there's also all this craziness that happened of Bobby Dassey just happening to get a roadkill deer and then cutting it apart in the garage, and the blood of the deer all over the garage. And there's been different stories on who saw the deer first, blah, 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 you know, so that whole thing changes. So was a roadkill deer picked up and slaughtered in the garage to try to cover up any evidence of Teresa Halbach in that garage? Now we know that Kathleen Zellner was going to do blood testing in that garage. We've never heard any results on that. Have we not heard because they didn't find anything? Or have we not heard because she absolutely isn't going to play all of her cards? You know, the way our stupid system works is you can only try for these new trials with new evidence. So you can't show all the new evidence you have, especially when you have the corrupt judicial system there in Manitowoc, who shoot down the actual evidence Kathleen has to prove Stephen's innocence. So you have to have something else to try again. So did she find something and we just don't know yet? Kat says Kathleen is playing a game of poker. She's not going to play all her cards at once. She's going to wait. Yeah. So, you know, Kathleen's not new to freeing the wrongfully convicted. She has said it takes her, what's the number of people? Is it 13 years, 15 years on average to free somebody who's wrongfully accused? Sucks, but that's the way it works, you know. There's people who rip on Kathleen Zellner because, oh, the big powerful KZ hasn't gotten him out yet. Or they'll say that, oh, she knows he's guilty and she's trying to get out of the case. None of those are true. These things just take time. And when you're going up against corruption that just wants to continue to cover for the corrupt people, it makes it very difficult. So it's once again, like we've said, it's just this waiting game, this constant waiting game. And we always get people saying, where is the case now? What's happening with the case now? And they feel like maybe we also have abandoned this case. And it's not true. There's just nothing new to discuss. So, but we do these lives on occasion because there's the people who have been here forever and they just like to, you know, talk about the case. And we get new people every day, especially during this pandemic, where, you know, more people are at home and you're looking for something to watch. And so they come across Making a Murderer for the first time. So every single day we get messages from people who have never seen it before and watched it for the first time and they can't believe what's happening. So these lives also help with the new people to, you know, so they can fire away and ask any questions they want on where the case is now, or, you know, they'll think that they thought of something new to help the case, but it's actually something that the Making a Murderer community has gone over 12, 30 million times. But we can also tell you where that stands on that theory. So, but Kathleen, in her last filing, Kuss Road, is an important piece of that theory. And then, Kat, I don't post every day about the case because there's nothing new to bring up, but I'm always watching. Right. Yeah. And there's something, now I forgot what all of this is, so maybe one of you can tell me, but there's something about when police and ambulances or something were at Kuss Road, that there's something suspicious about all of that, but I don't recall what that is. So somebody tell me, educate me. Kuss Road, one of the times I went there, I walked along the road to the deer camp to show everybody that, and to show where Kathleen's theory of that Teresa was left there at a period of time. And then I went to the actual deer camp because I wanted to get up on the berm so I could show you just how close that deer camp is to the salvage yard. And then that's when somebody from the Avery family, which, hello, everybody from the Avery family that always have to watch my lives. and spy on me because they love me so much. Mwah. Um, so they then, yeah, reported me to the Redants because that's their property. So they could press charges on me, as Earl Avery calls it, trespassing. Because while I was there that time, then Earl started texting me and was threatening me and telling me I better not be trespassing. And then I ended up having to go to court and all that fun stuff for them filing that against me. Whatever. Still doesn't stop me from doing what I do. I don't really care. So I was always, when I stuck on the theory that it is Bobby Dassey, I always thought Hustle Shot is what happened. What does Kat say here? When all the vehicles were at Kuss Road, they were investigating the woods there and said there was nothing to see there. Bree says, and hello Bree, new name. Why don't they like you if you're trying to help? That is a long drama story, Bree. I used to be friends, to try and make it a short story here, which is hard for me to do because I'm somebody who rambles on forever. Once upon a time, I was friends with the family. And then I found out the family is not on the up and up. And the family thought that they could control me. You know, the family tries to block anything real with this case. Because the reality of this case is Bobby Dassey and Scott Todek are lying. And the family are helping cover for them. By not allowing there to be any discussion about everything that there is on Bobby Dassey, on his obsession with Teresa Halbach, the family are helping to keep Stephen and Brendan in prison. So I don't care that they are Stephen and Brendan's family. They're hurting Stephen and Brendan. These are also the people, other than Stephen's mother, who did not go to visit Stephen in prison until Making a Murderer was a success. And then, all of a sudden, they all went to visit him and all wanted to be his pal, his buddy. And I have seen firsthand the family making money off of fans of the show. I don't like it, and I call it out. And so they don't like me. Understandable. I don't care. My life will still go on. And they've also turned both Stephen and Brendan against me. Once upon a time, I used to talk to both Stephen and Brendan. I used to visit Stephen in prison. And the family has told them lies about me. So they no longer speak to me. Which, whatever. That's fine. Because I don't do this to be anybody's friend. I do this because I believe a great injustice has been done. And those men deserve to be free. So, Kat says, and of course you have the groups out there that kiss Barb's ass and won't allow Bobby discussed at all. Right. So, I mean, sure, I get it. Bobby is her son. You don't want anybody talking bad about your son. But there is so much evidence against Bobby. and not allowing people to look into Bobby keeps her other son, Brendan, in prison. So she's selling out one son to help another. You know, so Stephen told me on either on the phone or on a visit that Bobby was obsessed with Teresa Halbach, because Teresa had been there a couple of times, you know, for different cars that were being sold, and that Bobby would then always try and tease Stephen about it. And, oh, your girlfriend was here today. So Stephen was saying, you know, that Bobby is always taking note when Teresa Halbach is there. Then you have the stuff that was found on Bobby's computer. The computer that Barb tried to have erased. Which I don't even get why she then held on to that computer. You know, if you know there's going to be stuff on there that you're desperate to, like, have removed off your computer, why didn't you get rid of it? That doesn't make any sense, but maybe she's just not the brightest bulb. I don't know. But so you have that the searches that Bobby Dassey did on that computer, where, you know, he was searching Teresa and RAV4 and blood, and then you have the kitty porn, and not just kitty porn, you have where he has little girls being decapitated. Sick, disgusting stuff on his computer. You'll have the family defending, it's not Bobby's computer. It wasn't in Bobby's room, even though we know from photographs that the computer was in Bobby's room at that time. We also know the searches were done on the computer at a time when Bobby Dassey is the only one home, because he works a night shift. So these are all happening during the day when everybody else is at work or school. So something that the family, and that's what Kat's saying right now, they tried to say that Stephen used it when we all know that Stephen had his own computer. Right. So these are the family members who want to talk bad about me, and then they're the ones that are doing this shit, covering stuff up like this that shows Stephen's innocence, and that they're trying to point the finger at Stephen. So with the computer, they do that it's okay, sorry, thought somebody was pulling in my driveway. That Stephen could have been using the computer. There's no reason Stephen would be using that computer. He had his own. And if you're going to search porn and this gross stuff, do you go into your sister's house to do it? Or do you do it in your own house that you're the only one that's there because your girlfriend is in jail because she's a drunk? And do you go do it at your sister's house that your nephew, since he works the night shift, is home sleeping? What would be the point of that? And then the other person the family tries to blame is Barb now Taduk's second husband, Tom Yanda, who is also Scott Taduk's cousin, that he could have done it. Why would Tom Yanda, who is separated and going through a divorce from Barb, that Barb is screwing his cousin, why would he go there during the day when Bobby is home that he didn't get along with to look up porn and children being murdered? So why is the family so desperate to point fingers at Stephen or other family members instead of Bobby, who obviously it was that put that stuff on the computer? And then, as Kat pointed out, Barb also tried to claim that they didn't have internet at that time. See how the story keeps changing? You know, computer's not in Bobby's room. We didn't have internet. And she has said tons of things that prove the opposite. They had internet at that time. Barb would even go on, so that's when it was, what was it? MSN messaging is what the kids used. So she would go on as Brendan and talk to Brendan's crush. You know, but then claim they didn't have internet when she's using it as Brendan. So when they searched Steven's trailer, one of the things they were trying to find is porn, because in their mind, to make the case, is finding porn means that you would rape and murder somebody. How many of you have porn in your home, have had porn in your home, have watched porn? How many people have you killed? Now, to be fair, the stuff that Bobby looked up and your typical stuff. And I know that's another thing when the family tries to downplay it. They'll say, oh, he's just a teen boy. All teen boys look up that kind of stuff. But when you're putting together a case, circumstantial, whatever, where do all the pieces point? They all point to Bobby Dassey. They do not point to Steven. What would Steven's motivation be? Again, on the porn thing. They didn't find any porn. They found a video that Steven and his girlfriend made. They found pictures of his girlfriend. And then they found the pink fuzzy handcuffs that they then put into their narrative that that's what Steven used to chain Teresa Halbach to his teeny tiny little trailer bedroom. That there was no DNA of Teresa Halbach there or on those handcuffs. The handcuffs that Barb and Steven had gone to the store and bought the same pairs together. So, but having pink furry handcuffs does not mean that you are going to rape and murder anyone. And hello, Wendy. So, what would be Steven's motivation to kill some random girl when he has a girlfriend? He's about to get hundreds of $1,000s from the state in December. You know, so this was the end of October. So in December, he was coming into a couple $100,000. And his $36 million lawsuit just started. Oh, he's so angry for being wrongfully convicted that he's just a pervert that's going to murder this girl. Why? He's about to get more money than he's ever dreamed of. And if he's going to kill some woman, wouldn't it be his cousin? Who's the one that put him down this slope to begin with? In the Penny Bernstein case? Wouldn't that be who he'd be setting up to somehow come to the salvage yard and do away with her? Why would it be Teresa Halbach? He had Teresa Halbach's cell phone number. Yet, this appointment was made with Auto Trader. Why leave a paper trail if you're planning to kill her? Could have just called her cell phone directly. Guilters will say, oh, well, he tricked her by saying that she was coming to photograph a car for B. Yonda. No, he's not tricking her. It's because that's whose car it was. He was the one that was home, and that dealt with this. So he offered to be there when Teresa Halbach came to take pictures of Barb's red van. So he put it under the name B. Yonda. You know from testimony that Teresa Halbach had said to Auto Trader that she was going to Avery Salvage. So, trying to say that he's tricking her, but she knew that's where she was going. So, where do they get that Stephen would be capable of murder? Because he hasn't done anything. Penny Bernstein, now people, will say Penny Bernstein was raped. She was not raped. It was an attempted rape. And she was beat up pretty bad. But the whole thing took like 5 minutes on what was done to her. And I'm not trying to say what was done to her wasn't bad at all. But even if you're going to say somehow he's still the one that did something to Penny Bernstein, he didn't. There was no rape. She was beat up. And he didn't do that. So you'll have people who've said that his crimes got consistently worse. What crimes? That him and some buddies broke into a bar and ate some sandwiches and took rolls of quarters? From doing that means you'll rape and kill somebody? Then there's what he did to Sandra Morris, his cousin, by chasing her and pointing a gun at her. It's because she was going around town saying lies about Stephen, saying that Stephen and his wife would purposely go out in their yard and have sex when she would drive past for her to see it. I don't know. And that he pointed, so he got her to pull over, he pointed this gun at her, and it was when he saw there was a kid in the car, he then let her go. He didn't kill her, he didn't touch her. He did a stupid thing, to which he would be doing time regardless of what happened in the Teresa Halbach case, because due to that, he was not allowed to have firearms. And when they searched his trailer, they found that rifle over his bed. The Glen Marfield, is that what it's called? Glen Marfield rifle, which actually isn't Stephen's. That trailer that Stephen lives in is not his. It is not Avery owned. It is not Avery property. It's all owned by Raleigh Johnson, who is a friend of Alan Avery's. And at some point, Alan sold a piece of Avery land to Raleigh because he wanted to park his hunting trailer somewhere. So the trailer, the garage, and the land it sits on does not belong to the Avery family. It belongs to Raleigh. And that trailer, almost everything in that trailer belonged to Raleigh. The furniture, everything in there was Raleigh. Raleigh testified that that was his rifle. But due to Stephen being prosecuted for the Sandra Morris thing of pulling her over and pointing a gun at her, he was a felon who could not own firearms. So when they're looking for any way to get him, that's how they originally took Stephen into custody for Teresa Halbach, is for the gun. That's what they used to get him. So, but still, none of those things that I've said so far would mean, oh, it's so obvious this guy would rape and kill somebody, right? Then we come to the infamous cat. Stephen was there and took part in them putting gasoline and throwing a cat into a fire. Stephen is not the one who threw the cat into the fire, but he's the one that took the blame for it. Don't approve of that at all. Don't like it. I think you're a piece of shit for being there and laughing about it. I'm an animal lover. I don't like hunting. I understand hunting. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be a party to it. Burning a cat, not cool. But that doesn't mean you would kill a person because you did that with a group of guys to a cat. Now, I know Jeffrey Dahmer. A lot of people start off by doing stuff to animals first. But just because somebody has killed an animal or been there when somebody else did, in Stephen's case, doesn't mean you're going to transition into killing some random girl. So, I get that people in Manitowoc do not like Stephen. Don't like his personality. Don't like his family. I know the family. It's like everybody in that family, almost everybody in that family has a criminal record. Lots of weird things have happened there. There's been family members who have told us that Chuck Avery raped them, that Chuck Avery raped his daughters, that Chuck Avery raped his nieces, that Chuck Avery has raped cousins. We have Earl Avery set up a camera so he could take pictures of his daughters and their friends when they would change into bathing suits. There are numerous women who would go to the salvage yard with their partner when they were looking to buy something, and they would talk about being made very uncomfortable by the Avery brothers. So it's completely understandable if people do not like that family. But you have to look at the evidence. And the evidence does not point to Stephen, but to Bobby, with an assist from Scott. It just does. And what evidence can Kratz use in court? Well, first of all, you've got the two trials of Stephen and Brendan that they were both tried for completely different scenarios, which don't understand. But all the evidence is tainted and planted. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. This family, bye Bree, the family does not like me. Stephen does not currently like me. So I have no reason to sit here and be defending Stephen, other than I know this to be true. I know Stephen is innocent. And there was a long time before Making a Murderer came out that the family, except for his parents, were happy to have Stephen in prison. They wanted him to go away. You would have his brothers in the press saying that they thought Stephen was guilty. But this evidence of the key that we know is not Teresa Halbach's key. It's the extra key. that doesn't have Teresa's DNA on it, even though it's allegedly her key she uses all the time. Plus, you have friends of Teresa's who testifies that Teresa had anxiety over the possibility of losing her keys. So now allegedly she only carries one key. Then, if she's so worried about losing her keys, she would keep multiple key rings and wouldn't just have all her keys on one key or on one ring. You know, where's her house key? Where's the studio key? I would assume she's got a key to her parents' house and she lives right next door to it. Where are all those keys? But we just find her spare key. That's it. Not with her DNA on it. But allegedly Stevens, that then you've got Kratz saying it's sweat DNA, which doesn't exist. There is no such thing as sweat DNA. Now, your sweat can carry DNA, skin cells that come off, but it's not sweat. So this key that they searched that teeny tiny little trailer, tore it apart, ruined it, that Raleigh Johnson does not get money for. They do not repair the damage they did to his trailer. And they're not able to find anything. But then all of a sudden, when the very same people who were part of framing Stephen for the Penny Bernstein case are in that room, poof, a key appears. Same things happens with the magic bullet or casing or whatever you want to call it. That garage was searched. The garage is your typical garage. It's a mess. Didn't find anything. Months later, they find this casing under the snowblower. Oh, magic fragment, not even a full bullet. Good point, Kat. No dust on it. Dust on everything else in the garage. No dust on that. Oh, and it matches the rifle hanging over Stephen's bed. Yet Raleigh testifies his gun, and he used to shoot at the garage because there was some animal, some critter that's got a hole in the ground that's near the garage that it would come up and they would shoot at. So there would be his bullets, his fragments, his casings all over that garage. Now, this fragment has something red on it. Well, Kathleen has already shown us that there were bullets that went through the red garage that could then get red paint on them. Also, the Teresa DNA that's on that fragment is waxy. Well, when they took stuff out of Teresa Halbach's home, they then brought that stuff from Teresa Halbach's home to Stevens. Why? Why would you cross the streams and bring evidence from Teresa's house to Stevens? So they brought her dirty underwear, they brought her sex toys, and they brought chapstick. Oh, waxy substance. Could they have wiped her chapstick? And chapstick would have your DNA on it. You're putting chapstick on, your lips are chapped. It's taking off, little tiny pieces of your lips on there, plus your spit. And who finds the magic fragment. Puff the magic fragment. The same people from Manitowoc who were part of framing Stephen for the Penny Bernstein case. Who were not supposed to be a part of this search. But there they were. Anytime something significant happened, they were the ones that found it and were in the room. Now, the alleged bones that were found in the burn pit behind the garage, those were spotted by an off-duty fireman who was there volunteering to be part of this search, right? But where are the pictures of the bones that they found? Oh, they didn't take any. So we're supposed to just take their word, the people who framed Stephen and put him in prison for 18 years for something he didn't do, that he was suing for $36 million, $2 million for every year he was wrongfully incarcerated. The Sheriff's Department insurance had said that they're not liable, that the individuals would have to pay out this money. So it's coming out of their pocket, not their union, not their insurance. They're the ones that are going to have to pay out this judgment. Those are the ones that are finding everything, and they're saying bones were found in that burn pit. Yet they didn't take any pictures. And claim Stephen's German Shepherd bear was chained up there and wouldn't let them get near the burn pit, and they were afraid of this chained up dog. Okay, you're afraid of the dog. I get it. So once you remove the dog, because they didn't leave the dog there forever, the dog was obviously removed, then you take pictures, and then you start testing it. But they didn't. Protocol is you take pictures. Also, they did not allow the coroner on site. The coroner, who outranks all of the officers. Her scene, her job, they wouldn't let her on the property. Why is that? Because there's a prior death that Manitowoc Sheriff's Department may be part of, and they wanted this coroner to protect the thin blue line. She said no. She said whatever the evidence shows is what will be in her report, not what she's told to put in her report. So they already know that she does not play ball. So they can't have her anywhere near this crime scene. So all the evidence, the alleged evidence they have against Stephen, the physical evidence, is all tainted. What's left? Brendan's confession. I don't need to go into that. We all know, if you're here, you know Brendan was forced to say, was tricked into saying what he said. But they don't even use Brendan in Stephen's case. There's no Brendan. So, it doesn't matter what Brendan said. It wasn't used against Stephen. So that leaves you with the bullet, the key, the bones, the RAV4 being found at the salvage yard, which there's, when was that RAV4 put at that salvage yard? Stephen's alleged blood in certain spots. Totally looks like a Q-tip put that blood there. Where did that blood come from? How did it get there? How could Stephen have a cut on his hand and not have blood all over the place? Not have a single fingerprint there? Oh, he was wearing gloves. Well, then how does the blood get everywhere if he's wearing gloves? So there's no fingerprints. Oh, the latch, the hood latch has his sweat DNA, but he's wearing gloves because there's no fingerprints. So how is there getting any sweat on there if he's wearing gloves to protect any fingerprints? There's just nothing here but made up shit to point it at Stephen, because these people who found all this alleged evidence was involved in a $36 million lawsuit. Period. Wendy, here in the States, it is legal to interview a minor or a vulnerable adult without a lawyer or an adult present. It is legal. But that's another thing going into Barb Tadek was not trying to protect Brendan, because she did have the opportunity to be in the room with Brendan and she chose not to. She also chose the opportunity to get a free hotel room from them to stay in a hotel for the night so they can question her other son. So Brendan's mother was not looking out for him. She was more concerned at that time that she was getting divorced from husband number 2. And then she married husband number 3 during the trial, right? It was during the trial. So her love life was more of a priority to her. Absolutely, Kat. I can't put a money amount on what Manitowoc should owe Stephen. You know, when I used to talk with Stephen, I would joke that he should own Wisconsin, you know, and just be called Avery Land at the end of this. How do you pay somebody back for losing all these years of your life? And what state will his mother be in when he's finally released? And that Stephen has never been able to truly be a free man. They took him the first time when he was, 22? When his twins were just days old? And then he was in prison for 18 years, lost his wife, lost his children. And he gets out for only 2 years before they lock him up again for something else he didn't do. So he has never truly been able to be a free man. And Brendan Dassey has never been a free adult. 17 years old when they took him into custody. He's in his 30s now. Didn't get his driver's license, didn't go to prom, didn't graduate high school, didn't, fall in love, get married, have children. All because Sandy Morris did not like her cousin and was married to somebody from Manitowoc Sheriff's Department and was best friends with somebody else from Manitowoc Sheriff's Department. And when when Penny Bernstein was reporting her assault, she said, "That sounds like Stephen Avery." And the fix was in. Anything they could do to get rid of Stephen at that time, because Sandy Morris didn't like him. So sad. Before I end this, I need to remind everybody that Christopher is organizing a rally that we'll be having the last Saturday in July in Manitowoc. We did it for the first time last summer, and so we're going to do it again. Last summer was difficult because we were newly into the pandemic, but we did have a group of people who came and we had some fun. That we hung out at a hotel. And then we went to the prison that Stephen's in, and we were there with our signs for a while. And then we attempted to go to Brendan's prison to do the same thing there, but the family called ahead to the prison to warn them we were coming and to stop us from being there. So that one didn't get to happen, thanks to his family. But we'll be doing it again. And Christopher is constantly working on stuff for that event. So when he's got that stuff finalized, we will let you know. But, we would be staying in a hotel for the weekend. And yes, Wendy, we do live videos from both the hotel and from the prison. So for those of you who can't make it, so he has a Facebook event made for that already on Stephen Avery Project. So if you go to that event and click that you're going or interested, you will then get notifications of anything that is changed to that event. So be on the lookout for that. And when anything happens in Stephen's case, as soon as it comes out, and as soon as we find out about it, we bring it to you. So if there is a ruling, we get the court documents and we do a live where I read the documents and we discuss it all together. That's another thing that you can find here in the videos, the past filings. And if there is a new trial or evidentiary hearing or anything, I will be attending and will go live from wherever I can from there. But so as soon as there is something to report, we report it. So you will get it as soon as possible. You can use this group, MAM Gossip, to talk about the case. You can also talk about other cases in this group if you would like. Then we've got another page and group that's called Justice with Jax, and that is all different kinds of injustice, all different cases, serial killers, that are guilty, all different criminal cases there on Justice with Jax. And we do lives on there on other cases. And I really need to organize, it's another idea of Christopher's, to do an online rally for a Melissa Kaluzinski, who is another client of Kathleen Zellner's. and is somebody that I visit, and well, I haven't been able to visit in a year due to the pandemic, but I email with her a lot, multiple times a week, and they're talking about allowing visits to start up again in April, so yay yay. And Melissa has had her shots. I've had my first shot, and I go for my second one next week. So hopefully that means then, you know, by the end of April, because it takes 2 weeks after you get your second shot. So by mid-April, I'm good to go, that maybe they would allow me to visit Melissa. But Christopher would like us to do on Justice with Jax an online rally for Melissa, where we'll talk about the case. I'll have her dad talk to y'all and tell you stuff and so on. So you'll have to look for that on the Justice with Jax page. And Christopher posts a lot of articles and stuff on there. So Wendy, I don't know what you're saying there in that last question. Edmund Keeper, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a typo or just something I don't know about. Serial killer. Yeah, so different. So like something I'm gonna watch probably when I'm done with this, now that I think about it. There's the Peacock. I don't know if Peacock is available outside of the States. Peacock is our NBC network here, and so Peacock is an app, an online app that you pay for, but I have, through my internet service, I have that free. So on Peacock, starting today, there's a new documentary on John Wayne Gacy. So I'm going to watch that, and I've posted something about that on Justice with Jax before. There's also a new movie that's being made on Jeffrey Dahmer. So, you know, so it's not just people who are wrongfully convicted that we discuss on Justice with Jax. So, all right, I am going to end this now. Thank you, everybody who joined us live. And for those of you who will get us later, watch us later, that you weren't able to be here. And if there's anything that you would like us to do a live about in the future, let us know. You can send us a message. And any rabbit holes you go down that you want to talk to other people about, feel free to post it here in MAM Gossip. So, thank you, everybody. And we will talk again soon. Investigate.